Hello, gorgeous. Welcome back to today's podcast episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about where I started with boundary setting. And it has been quite the process, and a process, to be honest, I'm going to continue growing and transforming in. But let's start with where it all began for me.
Welcome to the Becoming Space podcast. This is where we break the rules of who we should be and step into the truth of who we are. I'm Zisha, and here we explore the moments that change us, the stories that shape us, and the deep knowing that who we are right now is already enough.
I know boundaries is such a buzzword right now, and I can 100% understand why after going through this process on a personal level and through my personal experience of being a human. Boundaries for me still can be a little bit tricky to set sometimes because it can be a fine dance between respecting those around you as well as respecting yourself, because we all have the same rights as human beings. And respect across the board, of course, is hands down top priority for everyone involved, and we all deserve physical as well as emotional safety. Now, through my journey of learning my new set of tools to take me from surviving in life to thriving in life, I have had to rewire my brain on the boundary front. And this is probably one of the hardest, I don't want to say hurdles, but I don't know how else to describe it, but hardest rewriting, re-scripting, repatterning that I have had to do on my growth journey and my healing journey. And it is also something where the work is daily, right? So this becoming space is constant. We're never going to step out of the becoming space because we're always becoming. It's just the joy in knowing we get to choose how we become. And of course, I think thriving over surviving. Now, for me to start really setting boundaries, it actually came with learning my rights and in turn, learning the rights of those around me. I feel as though I just skipped this part somewhere along the line, and I was quite clueless, to be honest, and that's totally okay. That's where I was at. I love myself there, and I still love myself now. A huge part of my boundary setting journey is actually this book. This is a very, very well-loved copy of Setting Boundaries by Dr. Rebecca Ray. This book has been so life-changing for me on so many levels. I want to share the Bill of Rights that she has starting on page 85. From this full list, I'm going to share a few of my favorites that have really ultimately helped me in knowing my rights, also learning my own values without being conditioned by society. I think that's the best way to describe it. I feel as though my values were very loosely written, and a lot of them were based on conditioning from society. And this has been such a powerful tool to help me step into the more authentic, at peace, whole version of me, because truly this is where boundary setting really did start for me. And I feel like it's so easy to know that we need to set boundaries, but what is the how? I think that this is the information that I always found really tricky to find online. And that's why I want to share it in today's episode, where it began for me. Now, of course, this is going to look different for everyone. There's not going to be a one size fits all cookie cutter approach for the healing, growth, transformation journey. The becoming space looks different for everyone. But if this resonates with you, stick around and let's dive into some of the rights that Dr. Rebecca Ray has included in this book. So jumping right on in to number one. So the first personal right that she has listed is I have the right to ask for what I want and need. Now, this is something that I have had to work on intensely in order to get past my previous patterns and my previous scripts that I had chosen to go with. Asking for what I want and need is something that I have been very shy and reserved about in the past. And a really interesting situation popped up the other day, actually, and I thought, oh my goodness, old me wouldn't have had the confidence to do this. And it's over the most smallest little thing. And that's the thing, you end up noticing all these things about yourself. They can just be in the tiniest little forms of living and life. But you think, gosh, like I'm transforming, I'm growing, I did it. And it's going to sound so silly, but this is a moment in which I realized I had really grown in speaking up for what I want and need. I was out visiting friends and I had quite a drive to get back home, and I asked to use the bathroom before I left. Now, I know that sounds so simple and probably very normal, but for me, a past version of me would just think I have to leave as soon as possible. Like as soon as it's time to go, get my belongings, leave, walk out the door. And then I know I would have just been busting all the way home. So then the drive that it took, I would have been uncomfortable because I wouldn't have had the confidence to speak up and just be like, hey, I just need to quickly pop to the bathroom before I head off, which now it's so easy to do. I understand that I have the courage and confidence to do that. But just something that small, I would have abandoned myself. I would have put myself through an uncomfortable drive because I was too afraid to ask for what I want and need. And learning this Bill of Rights, just right number one, I have the right to ask for what I want and need, has literally changed my life in more ways than just asking to use the restroom. But that's just a bit of a very real life example. The third one is I have the right to decide what is authentically right for me. Now, of course, me stepping into my authentic self, learning this as one of my rights, I feel as though this list, and especially this point of knowing I have the right to decide what is authentically right for me, really helped my inner truth come out. And it really helped me return home to myself. I feel so much peace and wholeness from having this realization and knowing that I have the right to authentically be me. That is powerful. Number 4 is I have the right to feel the way I feel. Hugely important to rewrite the script for me. I am a big feeler. I am a part of the Big Feelers Club. I feel emotions to the absolute maximum potential, which used to really hold me back in life as I thought that it was such a negative and it would really stop me from using my voice and speaking up in so many situations because I felt as though I was too much. I now know I have the right to feel the way I feel, and I have a whole toolbox that I am able to unpack and use when I am feeling emotions really intensely. But that has all come over time. But as I mentioned, these rights really were the backbone and I guess like the tree for all the branches to start sprouting out of. So having the right to feel the way I feel was a really good thing for me to solely learn and value in my life, thanks to this list. The next one is I have the right to express my feelings. So that goes hand in hand with the one that I've read out. And the next one, I have the right to an opinion. Oh, this one was huge for me because there would be so many situations where I would not speak my voice and let my opinion be heard by others because I felt as though I was being an inconvenience to those around me. I now know, thanks to learning, that I have a right to an opinion and everyone else has a right to an opinion. We actually can disagree and still be fine. It's okay. We don't need to have the same opinion about absolutely everything to be friends with one another or family, acquaintances, colleagues, whatever it may be. We're all entitled to our own opinion and it doesn't need to be a problem. It's okay. We're allowed to. That was another very powerful one for me. I have the right to change my mind. Now, I personally have been in a position so many times in my life where I have made a decision and I feel as though I've had to stick to it. Now, I know more than ever how important it is to know that each of us individually have the right to change our mind. If I had been stuck in my old programming of feeling like once I've made a decision, I have to stick to it, there's no way I would have been able to move through the feelings and process and step into my new authentic self, because I really would have been stuck with the train of thought, well, I've married a man and I need to stick with my choice. I don't have the right to change my mind. This is my decision. I need to stick with it. This list helped me so very much to know I have every right to change my mind, and so does everyone else. Super, super, super powerful. Now, the next 3 listed are all hand in hand with one another. So as they read, I have the right to take up space. I have the right to exist in public spaces. I have the right to personal space. Now, this is another little silly one that I'm going to describe, but something that I've noticed so much in my life after learning these rights is I now don't feel inclined to move off a walkway if someone else is using it. In the past, I'd feel as though I'd have to shrink myself, move to the side, shuffle along, and not take up space. But the truth is, there's actually more than enough space for everyone to use the walkways. And now that I know that I have the right to take up space, I can just confidently walk in the very same way that I walked before anyone else was there. And that has made me show up in the world differently. I know that that sounds incredibly far-fetched, but this is just my personal experience, and I'm just sharing little snippets of what has changed my life. And even though they're tiny little things, each tiny little piece ends up stacking up, and the change overall for me has been absolutely priceless, honestly. The next one that is so closely held to my heart is I have the right to love who I love. I think this kind of goes without saying, considering I've had such an awakening on my sexuality. Honing in on this right and rewiring my brain to know that I truly have the right to love who I love helped me step into my authentic self, which magical doesn't even touch the surface of how wonderful this experience has been for me in terms of relearning who I truly am and being introduced to my authentic self and knowing that I am actually a gay girly and I do have the right to love who I love. This next one, I have the right to be imperfect and to make mistakes. Woo! Huge for the perfectionist in me. Rewiring my brain to that one has just been life-changing. The following one is I have the right to choose and prioritize my values. Now, this one took a lot for me to build, and I think that it molds and adapts as we grow throughout time and as we transform throughout time. Values can change and be fluid. I didn't really have a good sense of what my values were before I really started diving in to my inner work and my inner healing, but learning this right that I have really helped me rewire my own set of values without being conditioned by the wider society, which has been hugely life-changing. The next one is I have the right to physical and emotional safety. Now, up until I started doing the work and seeking a new toolbox, I actually didn't know there was such thing as emotional safety. I always knew physical safety obviously existed, but emotional safety is something that I have really dived into and have learned so much about. And I wanted to share this in today's episode, just in case you wanted to do a little bit more research on it. I feel like probably most people know about it now, but it's definitely one of those things that I definitely hadn't heard of. The next point is I have the right to not take responsibility for feelings, problems, or actions of someone else. That one was huge for me because I always felt as though I needed to help others fix problems, or I would never want someone to feel uncomfortable or sad or hurt. And quite often I would self-abandon myself in order to show up for other people. And the truth is, I really needed to show up for me first, and then that's given me such a solid base to then also be able to show up and help. That is so true to filling up your own cup first. The next one I really want to share is I have the right to learn and evolve and grow as a person. Now, I feel that could be a way to actually describe the becoming space, because truly we do have the right to do that as human beings and know that we are going to make mistakes along the way. That's how we learn and grow, and that is perfectly okay. And we can give ourselves permission to make mistakes. We can give ourselves permission to learn, to evolve, to grow. And that truly is the right that each and every one of us is born with as well. I have the right to forgive myself is the next one, which is huge. And this is something that I work on daily. Sometimes it's easier than others, but it's a very powerful muscle to build and make stronger as the days go by. Forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others, huge. It can create a lot of peace within when we learn the muscle memory to forgive. It's really, really powerful. The next one here is I have the right to speak for myself. I feel like this ties in quite well with I have a right to an opinion, and learning how to use my voice in a way that felt safe for me has ultimately given me the confidence to speak with my own voice. A layer on top of that is also having the right tools to ensure that my emotions don't overwhelm me. A previous version of me would be silenced by my own emotions because I would have so much built up and so much energy that I would end up either crying to the point that I just couldn't even talk or make any sense of myself, or I would just be in freeze response and not even be able to open my mouth or even move. And my emotions were just so intensely powerful. They really, really did control me. So learning how to self-regulate in order to have my opinion heard and speak for myself, top tier, has been amazing and can highly recommend. The next one I want to share is I have the right to own my lived experiences. This one has been huge for me. I mean, these all have been huge for me. Honestly, these have been life-changing for me. Owning my lived experience as making the decision to choose to end my marriage came with so much shame, so much guilt, and on top of feeling like the worst person for making this choice, I also still had to grieve for my marriage. And a huge part of being able to grieve such a painful time and letting go of someone that I had so much love in my heart for, and still do have love in my heart for. Of course, I very much care for my ex-husband. We have such an amazing friendship, and I feel like it made so much sense to both of us when I actually had the self-discovery that I'm a gay girly. And it really improved our dynamic and our relationship, and that romantic pressure on the two of us was just lifted. And being able to own that story, own that experience, has really helped me to heal, and it's helped me process a lot of shame and guilt that I was feeling around that experience. And I'm very, very thankful that my rewiring took place all the way at the beginning of reading this list. Now, for the full list, of course, it can be found inside this book. I'm sure it will be available where all books are sold across the internet, and there could even be an audiobook of it as well. I'm really not sure. Of course, this isn't sponsored or anything. This is just my personal recommendation. I just love this book so incredibly much. I personally got the most value from the first two sections. The third section has helped me, but I didn't find it as useful. I feel like other tools and my life coaching probably helped me more with the actual setting the boundaries part. But for my foundation of learning my rights and my foundation of learning my values, the list in here was the thing that really, really got me to that point. Now, you're probably also wondering, well, that's all well and good, Zisha, that this is how you started this process, but reading the book surely wasn't enough, right? And no, you're absolutely right. It wasn't enough. Now, in order to rewire my mind on actually learning these rights, I actually went through a process of reading them every single morning when I woke up. So I had this book on hand and I would read them over and over and over. And even during the day, if the book caught my eye, I would pick it up, I'd flick open the page, and I would read them to myself. Sometimes I would read them out loud, sometimes I would read them in my mind, and it got to the point where I was actually able to memorize them, and I wouldn't even need the book to read them at all. So in total, there is 34 points. So I would just make sure that I counted to 34, so I know I had got every single one of them, and that is how I rewired my mind to know what my personal rights were. Now, the really magical part of learning your rights is then giving yourself permission to live by them. And you're able to confidently start setting boundaries, having a very solid foundation on your personal rights, and also knowing that everyone around you has the same set of personal rights. So a really good one as an example is I have the right to physical and emotional safety. And so does everyone else around us. So when we start setting boundaries with this foundation of knowing our rights and everyone else's rights, that really aids in making sure everyone in the situation or the environment is well respected and physical safety and emotional safety is kept in line. Another aspect of this book that I absolutely love is her explanations on leader self and protection selves. And I've spoken a little bit about leader self, higher self, and protection versions or protective versions of myself in previous episodes as well. And that's kind of where I got the language for describing that from. It was in this book. She does such a beautiful job of explaining them and really getting to know the layers that we all hold within and how to manage each of them. She has really amazing tools in this book to make sure each and every layer of ourselves gets the chance to be heard and speak. To be honest, I got more value of doing that set of skills with my life coach. That one-on-one in a safe environment was the personal resource that I needed in order to really get to know the deeper layers of myself and let everyone have their moment to talk and love myself as a whole, whether it be my higher self or the protective versions of myself that like to pop in and say hi occasionally. I've been able to encompass a very large container to absorb so many versions of myself, which feels absolutely amazing. And I can understand that one-on-one coaching or perhaps a coaching program in general, even if it's a group program, might not be for everyone. And if you prefer something that you can just read in your own time, I can highly, highly, highly recommend this read because it definitely rewired my brain and helped me see things that I'd just never seen before. I feel as though the beautiful thing about becoming and the transformative journey is we all have our own different ways of describing it. And I definitely have throughout my healing journey and returning home to myself have used so many different resources and heard so many different descriptions and explanations on what the journey has looked like for others. And going down the coaching route was hugely beneficial for me. That was a huge pillar on this journey. And it was actually the first pillar for me to, step back into my authentic self and actually have the discovery that I am actually a gay girly. On top of that, I've used many, many books. I've also signed up for other online courses that involve meditation and live replays of, I guess, the healing community and toolkit that's worked for that particular course coordinator or operator. I have attended free boot camps. I have listened to so many podcasts. With the internet being so resourceful and right at our fingertips, I just feel like the options are truly endless when it comes to moving from a space of surviving to thriving. And put yourself out there, branch out, see what works for you. If you have a bit of a calling to consider one-on-one coaching, that is something that I have the complete joy and honor to also offer now. And if you feel a little calling in that space, please do reach out to me via DM, or if you want to jump straight on through to filling out the application form, please do. I will leave it linked in the show notes and in the description box down below. And that wraps up this episode. Thank you for joining me today. I absolutely love revisiting and rereading this list. So thank you for being here and doing that with me today. I've had company, which has been super nice. I hope that you have the most fantastic day ahead. And as always, sending my love.
Thank you for being here on the Becoming Space podcast. These conversations are just the beginning, and if you feel drawn to explore deeper, my coaching space is open by application for those who are ready to step into more of who they truly are. I'd love to connect. You can find me on Instagram at Zisha Aspin. If you're enjoying the Becoming Space podcast, I'd love for you to follow, leave a review, and share it with someone you love to share the love. You are exactly where you are meant to be. There's no rush, no right way, only your way. See you next time.